When we think about video editing, most of us only think about the actual cut of the clips. That's all great, but that's only the first step of the video editing process. We often forget about the other two key steps of the video editing, which are color grade and audio mix. Without any further words, now let's jump into Premiere. Whoa, what happened there? Hello? Am I actually inside Premiere? That is cool, man! I am inside Premiere! Right, let's get going! Anybody there? Ciao belli, Mamo here, another day, another vlog, and once again, I hope these videos can help someone out there in the world and in the tube, and that's why I love sharing my experience with you guys. If you really want to improve the quality of your videos and maybe think about a career in video making, then you want to start focusing on the 3 key steps of the video editing process. Today, I'm not focusing very much on the actual edit, on the cut, but I want to focus more on the color grade and the audio mix. If you want to check more about video editing, go and check my video here on how to make better vlogs. There's a lot of tips right there, so go and check it out after watching this video. Now, if you work for big companies, big organizations or production houses, they probably have their own in-house sound engineers and colorists. But if you work as a self-shooter or a freelance video editor or video maker, as I am, in that case, I think these are skills you want to have in your storage room. And trust me, they will make your videos 3 times better. And these are skills I'm still working on myself too. Bear in mind, you can use different softwares, but I'm using Adobe Cloud and all the softwares they have, so Premiere, After Effects and Photoshop, just for a smoother workflow and for practicality. So this is the original project of the latest video I filmed last week in my house. And today we're gonna use it as an example. I'm gonna quickly cover the editing process. As you can see from the timeline, the edit has already been done. So I'll show you quickly what I've done. Basically, the most important thing, guys, don't forget, is the story. We want to tell the story. That was a bit tricky because I filmed the whole video in my house during the quarantine, and there was not much to shoot, to be honest. So I tried to create a story over a script I wrote the day before. In this case, the story was told by a voiceover. As I said, I wrote a script and then I recorded a voiceover. So that's my main track for the whole video. And you can find it here. This is my 3rd track. So if I solo the track,
El tempo è denaro.
so that's my voiceover. What I've done, I found a music that could fit the mood of the video, and I found this nice and slow piano track.
Ora ho tempo. El tempo è denaro.
So I've got voice and track. What I usually do is I keep 2 layers, 2 audio layers for the sound effects, and then one for the voiceover, one for the music track, or whatever I need, depending on the size of the project as well. Some projects have like 10 different layers just for the sound effects. But this is a very simple and straightforward video, really linear story as well, very simple to edit. And that's my edit. It's 1 minute and 50 seconds. 1 minute and 55 seconds, basically. That's a tip I would give you because I come from a broadcast and television background. We used to have very neat durations for the items, for the deliverables. So I always recommend to edit your videos inside of multiples of 5. So you can go to 30 seconds, 60 seconds, 90 seconds, and so on. For the online platforms, it doesn't really matter, but I still like to keep it clean and neat, so this is what I've done here, and this is 1 minute and 55 seconds. I try to share some tips as well, again, about the broadcast and television or any professional environment in terms of media environment. So if you want to follow that kind of career, these are some tips that can be helpful, you know, I hope so. Anyway, let's carry on here. I've got, as I said, I've added also a few sound effects. I have a huge library, but you can find some of this stuff online on YouTube, for example. I really struggled to find a storyline. This morning, I actually filmed a few time lapses in the house. I thought to start with the time lapses to give this rhythm and idea of the time passing. So not a better way to achieve that. As you can see here, the time is passing and it shows me also the environment. So that set the environment for the video, establishing shots, don't forget. Okay, and then I introduce the character, so myself coming in, and now you can see who we are talking about and who is actually speaking in this video. We'll go through the filming process in a different vlog, so stay tuned, consider to subscribe right now. In terms of pace, it's a slowed paced video. Again, it's very, I tried to give these emotional vibes to it, so it's not rushing, quite nice and long clips. And also I filmed everything with steady shots on a tripod. As you can see, some shots are shaky, so what I do, I apply the warp stabilizer inside Premiere. This shot here, there's a bit of shakiness, and you can just apply. So if you open up your effects tab and you type warp, here we go, warp stabilizer, what you have to do, you just drag and drop it onto your clip, and now the software will analyze the clip and stabilize it. By the way, I filmed this project in 4K B-RAW, so the files are quite big. As we let him do this stabilization, we carry on. And what I do also during the video editing process, I reframe some of the frames. So my sequence here is actually a 4K sequence, but what you can do is to create a sequence in 1080p, so full HD, and having 4K footage, you can just scale it up and down and move it wherever you want and frame it. I'm using a Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 4K. The quality of this camera is amazing, so I can actually scale it up as well, up to 150, even in 4K, and the image still would be perfect to my eyes, so it's great. My sequence here is in 4K. But there's a frame in particular I want to reframe, which is towards the end. And okay, here. So basically I filmed too much of the foreground and I want to get rid of it. And also I want to focus more on the character and zooming in the character. So again, I'm going into my effect control tab and increase the size 130, and then I drag it down a bit and dragging to the left as well to chop the foreground and give more. I want to show the clock as well. As the video talks about time, again, I didn't mention that in the beginning, so it's a good way to show the time. That's pretty good. Again, in terms of transitions, I again kept it very simple and linear, just neat cut and a couple of fades into black towards the end, and that's it. Okay, when I'm happy with the edit, I can finally focus on the color grading. And what I do first is to work on the white balance. What I mean by that is, as you might know, the light has different temperatures that change during the day. So in the morning, for example, it could be a bit colder, and then it gets warmer when the sun goes high, and then it gets colder again during the night. As I filmed this video during different times of the day, basically the light and the temperature was changing. So what I have to do now is to match the temperature of the light and also to bring the whites and blacks up and down according to my taste, basically. Usually the white balance has to be done also in camera as you're filming. But of course, sometimes you forget or things happen and you can change it in post-production. What I do is I open this time my Lumetris. So if you go to Window, Lumetri Color and Lumetri Scope, okay? So I'll bring them here. So this is my scope. It basically tells me the white, blacks and the exposure of the clip. And then I also bring in the lumetri color, which is actually the effects and the changes. And when I change it, it will reflect into my scopes right here. As you can see, I show you quickly. So if I change the exposure of this clip, look at the waves here, they go straight up like that. So make sure they don't clip at the top. You will have the whites on the top and the blacks at the bottom. So what I'm doing now is making sure all the clips match in terms of temperature. So making sure they're not too blue or too yellow. And I just try to make the white, basically. And I do this by eye. To start with, I usually choose a clip where I can see shadows and highlights. By doing that, basically, whenever I change my values in the lumetri color, I can really see how the highlights and the shadows react. This one could be a good clip. I've got a wide angle. I can see the sky. I can see some highlights. I can see some shadows here, there. So let's see if we can play with this clip. I can pull up the exposure. As you can see, I still have some gaps to play. So I can literally pull the exposure up, make it brighter. If you want to, you know, it's up to your taste, basically, what you want to do. You can lift the contrast and it will separate the blacks and white. As you can see, it will spread the blacks and white. What I want to do with this particular video, actually, as it's quite emotional, I want to give it a quite vintage look and I want to make it faded. I don't want the contrast to be too much. Kind of a dreamy mood if you wanted to. So these are the basic options for your lumetri colors. But if you go in creative, you have already some templates here that you can switch to, that kind of stuff. That's a bit too harsh for what I want. So I go back, Command Z or Apple Z if you want to go back. And here there's this faded option. And basically what it does, it's the opposite of the contrast. It narrows down the spectrum and basically it will fade your blacks. And as you can see, the blacks kind of disappear and it gives you that kind of faded effects, which I like for this video. So that's one of my clips. To match the others, I open my reference monitor, which is here again in window. If you go down to reference monitor and then it will pop up and I drag it there. Here we go. Now you have two monitors. One is your reference monitor and one is your program monitor. So the program monitor will play your timeline, whatever I have on your timeline. In the reference monitor, you can actually choose the frame you want to freeze on, which is that. And now we want to match these colors and temperature and whatever in all the other clips. So what I do, I scroll through the timeline, look for another clip that could be this. And now again, I play with the values here in the lumetri color tab and I try to match it. It's actually very similar already. What you can do also, you can copy and paste this lumetri color and paste it onto another clip. So that's what we're trying to do and see if it matches, which is literally the next clip. So to copy the clips, you can do Command or Apple C and then go on your the clip you want to paste it onto, and you can right click, paste attributes, and only tick the lumetri color. So it will only paste basically the lumetri color. And you press OK, and here you have it. So you copied basically the values. It's a bit too bright, I think. So what I'm gonna do now, I just bring the exposure down just on this clip. And now it kind of matches. So basically that's what you do throughout your timeline. Let's say we're done with our white balance and temperature, so everything matches. What I do now is I create an adjustment layer to put on top of everything, on all the clips on the timeline. So you want to have actually your project tab selected right there, go on File, New, and then Adjustment Layer. And it will create this layer right there that you can put in, create a new folder, maybe Effects, putting in there, and you just drag it on your timeline. You want to extend it all over the clips. And now here you can add extra layers of effects to give me that kind of melancholy and sadness, if you want, and being alone mood. So I think the blue is the right color. And what I do now, I go here in my Lumetri color, go in creative and choose a template. And there's one, I think it's called Blue Steel, like Zoolander. So if we go to Blue Steel, look at my face, that's a Blue Steel for sure. Blue Steel, there it is. Here we go. Ah, look at that. That is really nice. I really like it. The last thing I want to do in terms of color grading is adding a vignette. So again, I keep this adjustment layer and go on your Lumetri color, and at the bottom you will find a vignette tab. Oh, how lucky. So what I do is I just add some vignetting like that, a bit of feathers so it's not very neat. And what the vignette does to me in this video, it isolates the character a bit more and it makes you focus on the character and whatever he's thinking and blah blah blah. So I think it really helps to tell the story a bit more. Well done, guys. I hope you followed. So that was the color grade. Now we have one more step, and it's the sound design and the audio mix. As we said before, I've already found a track and I added some effects right in the timeline. I did a very basic mix, basically, just with the volumes of the clips, but it's not really sounding as it should. As I mentioned before, I want the video to focus on my voice because it's basically in the storyteller, so that's what tells the story. But I also want to add some sound effects to certain actions, and only to certain actions. I don't want to cover basically the whole video with sound effects. It's going to be confusing, and again, this is a very peaceful kind of piece of video, so we're going to focus on certain parts of the video for the sound effects. In this shot, for example, I'm opening the door, and I think a bit of sound effects that could really help to tell the story a bit better. So this is the actual sound of the door, which I recorded during the filming. So that's another tip, guys. Always remember to record your audio on set. So on location, just put a mic on and record it. If your camera is too far from the action, then record the action and then get closer and just record the audio of the same action. So when you get home, you make sure you have some audio to cover that clip. So here, as you can see, I'm talking, but I also want to add the key opening the door, and this is the sound effects. Okay, all together. So after I lay down all my sound effects, I export my timeline as an OMF. When you export an OMF, basically you export all your audio clips of your timeline into one file, and when you open this file into an audio editor, automatically this software will generate a timeline that reproduces the timeline of your video editing software. So you will find exactly the same position of the clips, the same layers, and so on. And to create an OMF, and again, guys, this is a tip for professionals. This is something we used to do in television, in Sony Pictures. So we used to export OMFs for the audio engineers. And I'm pretty sure it's a regular routine still for broadcast or those kind of environments. So what you want to do is to go here in File, Export OMF. And you are going to have a sample rate of 48,000 bits rate per sample, 24, which is a bit higher quality. And then here, that's quite important. So here you want to select embed audio, and that's what I meant. Basically, in this way, your file will nest all the clips you have on your timeline. If you don't do that, you will create separated files and it will be more complicated to put it back in the sound software. In render, you don't want to have selected copy complete audio files, but only the trim audio files. If you tick copy complete audio files, the software will export the whole audio file of your video. So if you have a film, which is 1 hour and 30 minutes long, automatically the software will export 1 hour and 30 minutes of audio, which is huge, and it will take a lot of time to export and also to import into your software. But if you do trim audio files, when you export your clips, automatically they will be chopped already. So the software will export only that kind of duration for the clip. And as you can see here, you can also add an handle, 24 frames, for example, which is 1 second of handle. So you can extend it back into your audio software. Very handy. So I press OK. Okay, guys, so what you want to do is create a new folder for your mix. And I create a new folder, 3 keys, 3 video editing keys, and I saved my expo right here, OMF. As you can see, it's exporting. Okay, I'm gonna speed this up, but it takes, yeah, a few seconds. Perfect. Close. I go back into my folder. AA, it's Adobe Audition. That's how I separate my folders here, After Effects and Premiere and everything else. So this is my file. Now you will find this file in your folder. It's called OMF. What you have to do, right click, open with Adobe Audition. If you have Audition, you can work on Pro Tools or whatever other softwares you have. So it's opening up the software. Okay, now it's gonna ask you to save some files, which is the session, and you can save it in there or create another folder, whatever. I save it in there to make it easier. And now you will see it will open. Here we go. That's my timeline exactly as it was in Premiere. And you can see all the fades and transitions. Everything that was in Premiere is here. I'm not a professional audio engineer, by the way, so just take my advice as, you know, as tips. This is my mixer. Very important. Don't use that window very much, so that's what I want. And I've got different layers, as you can see, left and right channels for each clip. This is a mono track. The voice was recorded as mono, so as you can see, it's one. Before the rest was recording in stereo, so you will find the left and right channel. If you wanted to, you can also import a video file, which I don't need to, but if you want to, we can do that. And you can go in window, first of all, open up the video, which is there somewhere, and I can put it on top of my track. So what I can do is to drag and drop this file here. So this is my video. I don't need the audio track, so I'm gonna delete it. But that's my video track. It will create a video track for you, and you have the video on. Again, I don't need the video. I'm gonna just do that, and I need to see the tracks. Okay. First thing, what I do is to work on the levels of the volume. So again, giving focus to what I want to. In this case, the voiceover, as we said, that's my key. Just play through and see how it works with the music. First of all, see if there's parts where I need to lower the volume or increase the volume.
Ora ho tempo. Il tempo è denaro.
It's not too bad. So what I do on my voice is to add a compressor. So what's a compressor? A compressor basically brings the loudest parts of the audio waves down. Again, it narrows down. It's called dynamic range, exactly like the white balance and, you know, the video work. So it will narrow down the contrast between the loudest parts and the quieter parts of the waves of the audio. So it will bring them together. It will basically make the wave and the volume more even throughout the video. Voiceover.
Ora ho tempo.
And you can add the effects right here in your mixer. So you need to pick your voice layer, which is here. This is your channel. And if you press this tiny arrow right there, amplitude and compression, I'm going to add a multi-band compressor.
Tempo è denaro. Così dicono.
Okay, you can hear the change, the difference already. We're just going to play with these values and make it sound all right. So I've got some frequencies cut off now, and I want to bring them up, and I think these are the ones, minus 60 as you can see there.
Tempo per pensarle e scriverle su questo quaderno del 2005 che non sta neanche più insieme.
We cannot cover these into details, but it's stuff you can play with and check some tutorials online as well, but that's already quite good. So that's my first step. Second step is I play with the volumes of the sound effects.
Così dicono. Ho tempo per le...
For example, here the volume of the opening the door is too loud, so I can bring that down just by actually using the volume on my timeline right there, or you can do it here on your mixer. You can go -9. You can also type it in. You got left and right, don't forget. So both channel -9 and
Ho tempo per le parole.
okay, you can hear my voice better. Then I add a hard limiter to the master channel of the mixer, and you will find it right at the end. This one here, so this is my master, as you can see here at the bottom. And what a hard limiter does, basically, it will set a limit. Actually, you can set a limit to decibels, so the final volume you want your video to reach. And the hard limiter will stop your volume to go over that threshold. And for television, usually for broadcast is -12 decibels or -24, -18. We used to do -12 in Sony Pictures. For online platforms, there's not really a limit, but they recommend 0. And I use -2. That's what my sound engineer's friend told me to do. So you do the same thing basically as before. You go here in effects, add a hard limiter in amplitude and compression. And here we go. Maximum amplitude is already a -2, which is great. And that's what I do. So now we have a limiter, and our volume will never go over -2 decibels. Okay, now just as a test, I will pull the volume of the music as high as I can, and you will see the master volume will never basically go over above -2 decibels. So let's go.
Fine. Ho tempo per fargli emergere quei sogni, soffocati dal dover far finta di diventare grandi.
As you can see here, the music volume basically went above definitely the threshold, so it goes, it's clipping, so it's very high. Look at here. It gets red, so that's distorted and it goes over the threshold. But in our master volume, it will not go over -2. So that's a safety net basically. But again, you want to pull it down. You don't want to go in red ever. Okay. Okay, simple mix. What I do next is to create a master mix for the old track. And to do so, again, I go to my master channel and I'm going to add another multiband compressor. Okay, and in this case, you have some presets at the top right here in the menu. So if you scroll down, you can choose different presets and just listen to the track and see how it changes by changing the presets, and just go with your taste. So in my case, the broadcast preset works really well. It enhances my voice, but it still keeps the music quite loud, and it gives some energy to the effects as well. So that's the preset I'm going to go with. Perfect. I'm happy with the mix. To finish off, I'm gonna bounce the track out, and to do so, you go in File, Export, Multi-track mix down, entire session. So you can export the whole timeline. And here again, you can choose some settings. This is what I need. Wave uncompressed, 32-bit, and yeah, ready to go. So I just browse the saving folder, and here I've already set up my mix folder. So I'll save it there. You can save it. I'm gonna cancel because I've already done it. Last thing, guys, we are gonna do is to import our final mix here. And I've got in audio, I've got a mix, and I'll just do it for you. So this is my mix, which I already have in the project, but here we go. That's it again. And I usually create a new sequence just for the final export here in Premiere. So let's say I'm ready to export, then I duplicate my original sequence and I call it export. I delete all the audio files and I keep only my video file with the grade, and I'm gonna add the final mix underneath. And now here you have it.
El tempo è denaro.
Perfect. Now I'm gonna select basically in and out time codes from top to bottom. Remember, at the end you want to go to the end of the frame and then go one frame to the left. So in this case I will export 1 minute 54 seconds and 23 seconds because I filmed in 24 frames per second. Otherwise you will have a black frame at the end of the video. That's why you want to go to the left basically. What you do, you go to export and export media and choose whatever format you like. If you're uploading to YouTube, I usually use these settings right here. So H264 at the top, and then you can go down. You've got some presets already for YouTube 1080 or 4K, whatever you want to do, according to the size of the video. Some platforms don't accept files bigger than 2 gigabytes. So what you can do, if your file is bigger than that, you can play with the bitrate. So, and as you can see here, the estimated file size will change. So you can increase the size if you want to keep the high quality, kind of high quality, because YouTube will compress it anyway, but you know, higher quality. You bring the bitrate up. If you have to put it on Instagram, for example, you want to lower the bitrate and the files will decrease of the size. Cool. And then you just again select and browse your folder and export your file. Now let me get out of this tiny frame. Here you go, guys. Now you have a polished video matching professional standards. What I'm gonna do now is to leave you with the entire video I filmed with just the basic edit, so not color grade or audio mix. Then go and check the final product right here at the card right here, or a link in the description tab, and see if you can spot the difference right there. Also, for better audio check, put your earphones on. Thanks for watching, guys. This is the end of the episode. If you enjoyed the videos, then leave a comment down here below. Also, let me know if you want me to share more of my experience as a video maker, or maybe about the video making career and so on. Hit the subscribe button now, and I shall see you in the next one. God bless you. Ciao.
Ora ho tempo. E il tempo è denaro. Così dicono. Tempo per le parole, tempo per pensarle e scriverle su questo quaderno del 2005 che non sta neanche più insieme, dove da ragazzino i pensieri scorrevano senza fine. Ho tempo per far riemergere quei sogni soffocati dal dover far finta di diventare grandi. Ho tempo per respirare, per ascoltare il nuovo rumore della città. Ho tempo per osservare gli alberi in fiore davanti a casa mia. Ho tempo per una risata senza motivo con i miei amici, quelli con cui sono cresciuto e che pensavo persi, ma che riempiono la mia scatola dei ricordi. Ho tempo per la mia famiglia. Alla fine cosa c'è di più importante? Anche se un oceano ci separa da 15 anni, forse non siamo mai stati così vicini. Ho tempo per capire quanto un abbraccio sia necessario, come l'amare, seppur questo tante volte faccia male. Ho tempo per vivere. Voglio vivere. Il tempo è denaro, così dicono. Ora ho tempo. e non lo cambierei per tutto l'oro del mondo.
Seems all good times come and go,